Firstly, for my primary research, I sent out an email to my main target audience, teenagers, asking what documentaries they were interested in and that they liked to watch the most. By doing this, I would find out what my audience preferred, and it would then help me decide what my documentary would be about. Most of the people I asked replied saying reality documentaries. I learnt from the feedback from most people my own age that they prefer documentaries based on real life and what happens to real life people. However, I wanted to target adults as well as teenagers, and upon asking people aged 25 and over, they replied saying crime and historical documentaries were their favourites. I learnt that the older generation prefer documentaries based on facts or the past. Therefore, I wanted to make a project that appealed to both teenagers and adults. So this helped me to decide on a documentary based on internet dating, as it combined what happens to people in real life and also appeals to adults, as crime is not necessarily a TV genre directed at a certain age group. I did a presentation on the site Prezi.com to my target audience discussing what I planned to do for my project and what my main ideas were. I discussed the genre of my documentary and also the subgenres of it. David Bordwell says that any theme may appear in any genre. I spoke about how the theme in my documentary will be crime. It will contain the ideologies which associate with crime documentaries, such as interviews, reports, presenters and a narrator. By discussing this, I would help the audience identify it as a docudrama. I did this to gain feedback, and afterwards I handed out a questionnaire. The questions I mainly asked were what documentaries my audience were interested in, and what they thought about my initial ideas for my project. I handed out the questionnaire to see if there were any improvements to my documentary ideas that the audience could suggest. However, I could have tailored the questions better and made them more direct instead of them being fairly open-ended. Instead of asking any suggestions on how to make my documentary better, I learnt that I should have asked something more specific like, do you like the idea of the location being set at a real event? Yes or no, and why? This would have got more response from my audience and would have provided a better insight from them. It would have also helped me think about my decisions more wisely because of the audience input. Upon doing my presentation, I learnt that I also should have thought deeper about the difficulties with filming in a busy public place, as my first ideas were based on filming on the Sheffield Halloween event Fright Night. Instead of keeping this idea because the audience thought it was good to place it at a real event, I should have thought of health and safety in more depth, as due to it being too overcrowded to film, I had to retract the idea and change some of the ideas for my documentary. I should have considered this in the beginning of the planning for my documentary, instead of in the middle of the production, and having to rethink about what to put into my project. Another thing I have learned is that you shouldn't always rely on audience feedback for ideas for your projects. One of the questions I asked my audience was how I could improve my documentary. Most of the audience said there were no improvements needed. On the other hand, one person said to make sure that the reenactment part was clear for the audience and easy to understand. I tried to take this into consideration whilst filming and editing my documentary. However, I wanted the reenactment part to have a both closed and open meaning. Closed because I wanted the audience to understand that the victim was meeting her internet date and that he was too forward. Open because I wanted the motive of the attack unknown to portray the internet date as unstable. I learnt from my primary research and feedback that I needed to plan more thoroughly and think my ideas through before filming or creating my documentary. If I had done this, I wouldn't have had to refilm and do the documentary a second time. However, these mistakes helped me to make better decisions in filming the documentary again, and I planned more accurately, thus resulting in my documentary being better the second time round. After I had finished my documentary, I asked some people that fitted with my target audience some questions on what they thought of my documentary and ancillary products. I asked most teenagers what they thought by posting my ancillary products on Facebook and showing a few people the documentary. I also asked my older target audience what they thought of my project. Do you think the documentary is similar to real documentaries, and why?
Yes, I do think it's similar to real documentaries because it does have an introduction which tells you what it is you're about to see, and then it is filmed in such a way that you feel as though you're there. So yes, I think it's very similar to a real documentary.